And on behalf of the Michigan Credit Union League Legislative Action Fund briefing and Grand Raffle drawing. This on the important happenings that impacted the credit union tickets is Patty Campbell, our event chair and CEO of Christian. Patty will go over the rules and conduct dancing, and with us online. Thank you for joining us, and let's get started.
Update to one prize, the first prize, the second prize consecutively by 5 third-place winners. After we pre-mix these, we'll be drawing each ticket and will be placed in a marked. Now, team here in Lansing will confirm the eligible placed a winner today. Eligible, they will be notified as soon as we can eligible. We will substitute out. If a winner can be found, MCUL state law, the very exciting. And our grand prize winning ticket this year is ticket number 74799. That is ticket number 74799. Our second place winner this year is ticket number 27946. Ticket number 27946. Now for the first of our 5 third prize winners. Ticket number 89068. Ticket number 89068. Our second third prize winner, ticket number 61242. Ticket number 61242. Our third grand prize winner, or third place winner, is ticket number 34497. That's ticket number 34497. Our fourth third place winner is ticket number 26256. Ticket number 26256. And our final third place winner of the 2018 Grand Raffle is ticket number 4534. That's ticket number 4534. That concludes this year's Grand Raffle drawing, and I'd like to turn it over now to Jordan and Sarah for the issues and briefing update.
All right, good morning. Thank you, Patty, for the drawing this morning. Sarah Stevenson and myself are going to give a industry issues and political update on behalf of the Michigan Credit Union League. So we just exited the 2018 general election here in Michigan. Former Senate Minority Leader Gretchen Whitmer defeated Attorney General Bill Schuette in the race for Michigan's next governor. In the Attorney General race, Dana Nessel eked out a win over current Speaker of the House Tom Leonard. In the Secretary of State race, Democrat Jocelyn Benson was successful in her bid for the next Secretary of State office, defeating Mary Trader Lang. Benson's victory actually hands the Democrats this seat for the first time in nearly a quarter century. In the U.S. Senate, there was a race between U.S. Senator Debbie Stabenow and challenger John James. The MCUL endorsed Debbie Stabenow did prevail in that race for her fourth 6-year term. In the U.S. House of Representatives, there were 11 members of the current U.S. House from Michigan who ran for re-election. 10 of those incumbents won re-election. Those included Congressman Jack Bergman, Bill Huizenga, Justin Amash, John Molinar, Dan Kildee, Fred Upton, Tim Walberg, Paul Mitchell, Debbie Dingell, and Brenda Lawrence. Representative Mike Bishop in the 8th District lost his re-election bid to Democratic challenger Alyssa Slotkin. Michigan also had 3 open seat contests, and that includes the 9th District, where Sander Levin is retiring. His son Andy Levin, Democrat, defeated Candice Stearns, the Republican, 60% to 37%. The MCUL was endorsing Andy, and we're happy to see him prevail in that race. In the 11th District, which was previously held by Congressman David Trott, who was retiring from Congress, it was a very hot and contested race. Democratic candidate Haley Stevens defeated Republican Lena Epstein 52 to 45%. In the 13th District, which is down in the city of Detroit, where John Conyers held that seat for many years, former State Representative Rashida Tlaib was elected to represent the 13th District for the 2-year term beginning in January of 2019. In the state legislature, the entire state House and Senate was up for election this year. Due to term limits, 27 of Michigan's 38 state Senate seats, were open this cycle. The Senate Republicans were able to hold on to a similar majority for the coming term at 22 seats for the Republicans and 16 for the Democrats. Notably, incumbent senators Marty Nolenberg and Margaret O'Brien lost to their challengers, newcomer Mallory McMorrow and former Representative Sean McCann, respectively. In the state House, all 110 seats were up for election, many of them open due to term limits. The Republicans were able to maintain their majority with a similar margin, now 58 to 52 seats in the state House. On the state issues, there are several issues this past year the League has been working on to help advance the agenda of Michigan's credit unions. One of them was signed by the governor, and that's the lien holder notification legislation. And this legislation will further protect credit unions from excessive storage fees charged by tow operators, allowing them to contest the fees if unreasonable. It created an inspection fee to allow credit unions to inspect the vehicle prior to paying the storage fees, and it'll significantly decrease fee abuse by certain tow operators, decreasing the costs on credit unions and ultimately their members. Data breach legislation has been introduced in the State House and the State Senate. Hearings have been held in the Senate, and in the coming weeks will be held in the State House, which would allow for increased communication to happen between merchants and credit unions when a data breach occurs. It's important that credit unions are notified immediately when a data breach does occur, so we can monitor those cards and try and minimize fraud exposure. Electronic notarization legislation has also been introduced in the state legislature this year. These bills, we expect for them to move during the lame duck session here between now and the end of the year. Legislation would permit financial institutions to use electronic means of notarization in their lending processes, creating increased efficiency and cost savings for members. Tax reform legislation we also were able to maintain the not-for-profit tax status of credit unions this year in tax reform legislation in the State House and Senate. And also payday lending expansion was up again this cycle in the state legislature. Payday lenders are seeking aggressive increases in lending authority here in the state of Michigan. Current legislation introduced in the state Senate would allow them to charge over $8,000 in interest and fees and principal on a loan of only $2,500. We were part of a large coalition of organizations statewide, including Habitat for Humanity, several city mayors, and other civic organizations to oppose this legislation, as we see it abusive to Michigan consumers. On the federal side, we had several successes this past year, most notably in tax reform. The president signed legislation to enacts a comprehensive tax reform at the federal level. And during that process, two individuals from Michigan, Senator Debbie Stabenow, who serves on the Senate Finance Committee, and Congressman Mike Bishop, who serves on the House Ways and Means Committee, were extremely helpful in ensuring that Michigan's credit unions did not see their not-for-profit tax status altered. Regulatory relief legislation also passed in Congress and was signed by the President. The legislation had the support of both of our U.S. Senators, Gary Peters and Debbie Stabenow. That legislation advanced all the way to the President's desk, S-2215, and has several provisions that are beneficial to credit unions when it comes to regulatory relief. Also in Congress, the third issue that we've been working on is data breach reform. We continue to educate members of our delegation on the importance of making sure that merchants are held responsible for protecting consumer data and sharing in the costs of those breaches as well when they occur. We expect legislation to be introduced on data breach reform early into the next Congress. At this time, I'll now turn it over to Sarah Stevenson for a regulatory update.
Thanks, Jordan. So the National Credit Union Administration has been very busy this year with a number of final rules and proposed rules issued. For two final rules that are important to note for our Michigan credit unions, the NCUA issued a delay for the risk-based capital rule, extending the delay until 2020. They also issued a final rule for voluntary mergers of federally insured credit unions, which includes state-chartered credit unions. Some proposed rules of note: the NCUA has an appraisal rule which is open for comment until December 5th. This would increase the threshold for requirements for real estate transactions for commercial loans up to $1 million from $250,000. It would also restructure the NCUA's appraisal regulation to clarify requirements for the reader. It would also provide additional exemptions for homes located in rural areas valued below $400,000. Additionally, the NCUA is looking at the federal credit union bylaws and looking to make amendments to those bylaws to allow for greater flexibility for federal credit unions. They also had a proposed rule earlier this year for payday alternative loans as a second option from their current program. They are currently evaluating all of the comments that were received and will be hopefully issuing an additional rule in 2019. Finally, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau had a number of requests for comment throughout the year under the direction of a new director, looking for information on how the industry feels about the Bureau's rulemaking process. They are also looking to implement portions of S-2155, which Jordan mentioned, including clean energy loans, implementation of amendments to the Home Mortgage Disclosure Act. They are also looking at basically a redo of the payday rule, and they're also reevaluating HMDA for additional amendments. Finally, at the state level, since June of this year, state-chartered credit unions were expressing concern with investments in government-sponsored entities. An order was issued by DIFS Director Patrick McFarland on October 15th, allowing state-chartered credit unions in Michigan to invest in unlimited investments in government-sponsored entities, similar to banks and our federal chartered credit unions. Additionally, there's been an issue with IRS 990s. Credit unions in the state charters received a notification that the state-chartered tax exemption had been the tax exemption had been revoked. Since then, the DIFS has been working with the IRS. They acknowledged that this was an error on behalf of the IRS, and the IRS is continuing to make sure that state-chartered credit unions no longer receive notices. And that is all for the regulatory update.
All right, thank you, Sarah, and thank you for joining us this morning for our 2018 Grand Raffle drawing and industry issues briefing. We hope to see you next year. Thank you.